It's your boy Hot Soup, man, coming to you live with I Told You So episode for week 11. Boy, I went 8 for 10. Listen, I've been putting y'all down on this game. I'm giving y'all the guide to get it done. And, you know, I do get a lot of those inboxes like, man, you told me to do this, Mac, and I did it, and I'm lost my week. Boom, boom, boom. Nobody's perfect. I'm not a genie. I can't just grant your wish, right? But Hot Soup knows what he's talking about. Went 8 for 10 on my top 5 start, top 5 sits. We're about to go through it right now. Stay tuned. Please, when you're finished with this, send me comments, man. Inbox me if you have any questions. That's what I'm here for. Let's get started. So last week, man, I came to y'all with the top 5 starts for week 11, man. All 5 of my top 5 starts I got correct this week. They were either a wide receiver 1 or 2, a QB 1 or 2, or a running back 1 or 2. So let's start off, man. I have Mike Evans, man. Y'all get that guy Mike Evans in your lineups. Bench Chris Godwin, man. I've been telling y'all this week in and week out. What happens? Mike Evans goes off. He has 5 receptions, 43 yards, scores you a touchdown, gets you 12.8 points in standard formats. PPR, we're talking about 15 points. He was the number 18 receiver off the board, meaning that is good for a wide receiver too. If you are in a 10-man league and Mike Evans was in your lineups, you did well. Number 2 off the board was Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson rushed 17 times for 73 yards, also had 7 receptions for 58 yards, good for number 10. Overall running back, that is RB1 numbers. That's right, 16.6 points. If you are in a 10-man league and you had Brian Robinson, he was top 10 running back scoring in week number 11. Let's go to number 3 off my board, Brandon Ayuk. Listen, Brock Purdy is looking special right now. Number 2 quarterback this week, I want to add, threw for 333 yards and 3 TDs. Listen, man, Brandon Ayuk had 5 receptions, 156 yards, 1 TD. He went 8. Number 4 receiver in fantasy scoring points this week with 24.1 points. Wide receiver number 1. That's right. Your boy Soup came with it this week. CJ Stroud, QB2. He ended up number 12 overall QBs for scoring this week, threw for 336. Listen, if you don't have CJ Stroud in your lineup, you're losing. Only reason he didn't get QB1 numbers because the man threw 3 picks. Also threw 2 TDs. In the last 3-4 games, this guy has thrown for over 330 yards. He is averaging 325 yards a game right now. He has the most passing yards in the NFL. That offense is clicking. If you have a receiver from that offense, they need to be in your starting lineup. Even though Tank Dell had the biggest day, Nico Collins still had 12 targets last week. There's enough to go around in that offense. Listen, man, I told you to start CJ Stroud. Got you a solid 18.34 points in fantasy scoring, good for QB2 numbers. Devin Singletary, another guy I shot out there to y'all. Like, look, this guy is getting those touches. This man had 22 rushes, 112 yards and a touchdown. Also had 2 receptions for 6 yards. Ended up running back number 5 overall scoring. That's RB1 numbers for you. Hot Soup told you, get them in your lineups, man. I told you so. Those are my top 5 starts I went through, went 5 for 5. Show me some love. All right, so now we're going to go over our top 5 sits that we went over last week, and I went 3 for 5. Can't be perfect, man. No one's perfect. If I was perfect on here going 10 for 10, you guys would be all over my channel. I'd be rich because I'd be putting in sports bets every week. I'd mortgage my house. Nobody's 100% right. Matt Berry and them ain't 100% right. My numbers looking better than them right now. Yeah. Holla at your boy Soup. Top 5 sits last week. And of course, nobody started this guy. Why would we? He's been a shell of himself, been playing terrible over in Jacksonville. I said Trevor Lawrence. My bad. Who knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be the number 1 quarterback in scoring this week? Nobody knew it. He was on everybody's bench. Guess what? He helped absolutely no one. That's right, man. Trevor Lawrence didn't even throw a touchdown last week. Who expected what we saw this week? We did not. Trevor Lawrence ended up with 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then ran 5 rushes for 2 touchdowns. those extra 2 touchdowns, man, on the ground, what did it? I tell you what, man. Listen, Trevor Lawrence is going to be hit or miss just like Calvin Ridley. Some games they're up, some games they're down. Do you want to risk your fantasy season on a boom or bust? Not me. Trevor Lawrence will continue to stay on my bench in the leagues that I have him in case somebody gets hurt. Somebody ripped me a new one in my inbox. And like I told him, man, go check out the rest of the show. I'm not just out here calling everybody wrong, man. I apologize, fella. My fault, man. Rip me a new one. Number 2, man, Isaiah Pacheco. All right. I'm not saying that Isaiah Pacheco failed, but I'm also not saying Isaiah Pacheco was a start. I mean, he ended up number 23 in running back scoring. Now, what I can say by the eye test is he wanted to prove us wrong. He wanted to prove the suit wrong. I mean, he was running with purpose last night against Philadelphia's defense. Philadelphia gives up 66 yards for the entire team per game, meaning the entire team doesn't get more than 66 yards average against Philly. They're the number 1 run defense in the league. That's why I wanted you to bench him. Now, if you benched him, you're not mad. I'm sure you had running backs that did way better. There were 22 more running backs in the league that did better. He was a running back number 3 that is not start status. So I was right on Isaiah Pacheco, but indeed, he tried to prove me wrong. That man went off for 19 rushes and 89 yards, and that's it. No touchdowns. Thank God, man, because I'd have been on here 7 for 10. But still, nevertheless, hey, if you benched him, I'm sure you had other running backs that did better. You're welcome. Jalen Waddell. Ooh, woo-hoo. He was on my sits last week. He's on my sits this week. Y'all can check out that episode later on. It's coming to you soon. Jalen Waddell had 4 receptions, 55 yards, ended up number 33 receiver. That is wide receiver 4 this week with 7.5 points. That's right. If you bench Jalen Waddell, you were thinking hot soup. I told you so. Number 4. Ooh, did I hit it? Boy, look, I knocked it out the park with this one. Yeah. Gabe Davis. That's right, man. Gabe Davis has 0 receptions, 0 yards, 0 carries. Was he even in the game? Did he even run any routes? I told you to bench Gabe Davis. Any receiver playing against New York Jets defense, I'm benching him. It's got to be a super stud for me to start him. Shut Stephon Diggs down. 4 receptions, 27 yards. Gabe Davis, absolutely nothing. New York Jets are playing somebody this week. Guess what? I'm benching the receiver. But again, y'all come check that out on my top 5 starts and top 5 sits. Should be coming out Wednesday or Thursday. And number 5, bit me in the butt on Thursday night. Yes, he did, man. I just thought that Joe Mixon was not going to have a big game. Joe Mixon ended up with 16 rushes, 69 yards, 5 receptions, 31 yards, and scored a touchdown. Ended up running back number 8 overall in fantasy scoring. Was an RB1, 18.5 points. Hey, man, I'm not perfect, man. So I'll take the credit when I'm wrong. So if you wasn't listening to my top 5 starts, top 5 sits last week, you probably should be listening this week. Hopefully, if you was tuning in, you listen to your boys' top 5 starts, top 5 sits, because I told you so. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Like and subscribe. And I'll see y'all soon. The soup is hot.